Good morning, everyone. Just give me one quick second so I can get everything else situated. We're going to get started. Hope everybody's doing very well on this Friday morning. End up getting placed in on the NAS 100 on a quick trade. Seeing that it quickly moved my direction. I put my stop loss to break even and came downstairs, and seeing that it quickly took me out of the market as well. So made money on it, but wasn't the amount that I wanted to. I seen I was up almost 200. When I put myself in my stop loss, I think I ended up making right around $46 on that movement. $46 that I didn't have, but obviously wish you could have made more. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and get started. And we are live. This is Travis with the Spoon from Carter Cow Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom. Carter Cow Trading on Facebook and Trade with Travis on YouTube. Hope everybody's doing very well on this Friday morning. Let's go ahead and go through the disclaimer. Then after that, let's go ahead and see if there's any type of trading opportunities today. All right, so I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education. And from that education, you can be able to make your own informed decision about what you want to be able to do for Forex trading. Now, understand that Forex involves risk. It involves risk of being given to make money. Also involves risk of being given to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money, yesterday, it's not promised that you're going to end up making money today. So with that being said, get ready to show myself onto the screen. Hope everybody's doing very well. This morning it's been somewhat of a mixed bag. I was looking for a 5-minute trade a little bit earlier this morning, and on the NAS 100, was not able to get triggered in on that trade. When I got the alert, it was way too late for me to be able to get in. But I got another alert earlier this morning. Remember, we have retail sales that's about to happen today, and that's grossly going to end up affecting NAS 100 and the S&P and a few other pairs and stuff like that. So obviously, we had to keep that in mind. So remember, the NAS 100 is very quick compared to pairs like the Australian yen and the Australian dollar, like I ended up getting into last night, that I had to take a quick loss on because, quite frankly, there wasn't no momentum. Now, remember, when there's no momentum, then there's no movement, right? There's no movement, then there's no trade. So even if you get into the trade and you get into it in a great position, or in a semi-right position, if you don't get it right on the daily, then that means that sometimes you have to take a short loss because you can be able to get behind on that overall pair very quickly, unless you end up placing your stop loss way above the A. And in that case, the way that I end up trading it, or based off of that position, I didn't like the position that I was in at the beginning. I told everybody to lower their overall risk profile at the beginning as well. So I would rather put myself into a position to where I take a short loss instead of just losing pretty much everything on that overall pair. Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to get Instagram working, and for some reason it's not letting me work. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna try it one more time, and then after that, we're just gonna go ahead and move forward. Okay, I guess I'll just update the title a little bit later on. All right, so I am live on Instagram as well. Okay, so I'm having one of those hair days to where, if you look at it, I don't know if y'all can see it, but my left side is flicking up. I don't know how that's happening. I don't know why that's happening. It is what it is. This is obviously going into the second or third week of me having a new retwist. So it's kind of funny looking at it now. It's the last week it looked all good. Now it's sweated it a little bit, and it's starting to go a little bit wonky. So we'll go for down. Let's go ahead and take a look at the pairs. I'm wasting too much time. All right, so economic calendar, what we're looking at is this. We have retail sales a little bit later on today. It's going to be at 8:30. So I do expect that the market is going to end up pushing very quickly on that overall pair. Yesterday, remember, the market ended up completing the overall 382 position on this move. So really and truthfully, that's not necessarily much of a position to be able to look at for selling, unless you're trying to scout the market and trying to be able to go from there. Now, it do have room to fall. It has room to fall. Sorry. When it comes down to it, it can fall down to 11,600 very easily if it does decide to fall. Now, we have to keep that in mind when it comes down to our overall trading. We want to be able to get in early, but at the same time, if the market is not ready, because today is a day where we're going to end up seeing a lot of we're going to end up seeing a lot of movement overall for a short amount of time, right around that 8:30 to right around that 10:30 time. Remember, it's Friday, so that means that you're probably not going to see that many people trading it at the right around that 10:30 time as well. If the market was in a position kind of like where it was last week, where we was going to hit a D extension and the market was just moving towards that overall position, then absolutely there'll be a lot of people trading it. I don't think that we're in that position right now. I think we're in a position of indecision and trying to see, is the market going to go up? Is the market going to end up continuing to move down? So we have to be able to react based off of that overall position. Hopefully that makes sense as we go through and take a look at the big three. Now we take a look at the big three. Remember, the big three is the US dollar index. We take a look at oil. We take a look at gold. We also take a look at the NASDAQ 100, but that doesn't necessarily affect all of the pairs. That affects what's happening. It's kind of based off of what's happening with the US dollar index as well, but it's typically doing the opposite of what the US dollar index is doing when it comes down to movement. So we have to keep that in mind as we're going through and taking a look at this. But overall, if we're looking, we should see that the US dollar right now went from being bearish earlier this week to actually being bullish. It broke out of this overall trend line to the upside. We did not take this trade when it retested, and that's more of stuff that has to do with outside of Forex, and obviously hanging out with kids and stuff like that. There's more to actual trading. You actually want to. It is okay to be able to spend time with your family. And that's exactly what ended up happening. I wasn't able to get by the computer. But what I see right now is that on the weekly now, we've broken above this trend line again, which means that the market is bullish. But the market is getting into the sell zone, which means that we're also getting into a position to where this market could be overall weak going into this overall pair, going into next week. So something to be able to think about. We look at this as a fractal high. This market starts to reject and we have a down day today. Then this market could be considered to be bearish by the end of the week. But right now, I'm going to say short-term bullish. Short-term bullish on the daily. On the weekly, I'm going to say short-term bullish right now. We'll see how the market kind of closes out today. And then after that, we can definitely make an evaluation of what's going to end up happening going into next week. We take a look at what happened with oil. Remember, oil got close to that $41 mark. If you end up getting into it yesterday, or hopefully you end up taking a quick profit, because this market ended up sucking and going straight up and turning this into a hammer again. This is the beginning of a evening star. It's a really weird evening star, but it is a evening star in general. So we should be looking for a movement to the downside. If that does happen, then be prepared. Right now, it's in a consolidation no trade zone. Remember, when it's in a consolidation no trade zone, then that means that you don't trade. It's very simple when it comes down to that. So oil, not looking at being able to do anything unless I got a high price, and I didn't get a high price. So it is what it is when it comes down to that trading. So I am out of oil. I am semi-okay with the US dollar. I am not okay with oil. Let's take a look at gold. Gold at this particular point has been fluctuating between being bearish and being bullish and everything else like that. We go to the weekly. The weekly is expected to be bullish. The weekly is basically in the buy zone at this particular point in time. So going into next week, we may end up seeing some bullish movement. As long as this market breaks above that counter trend line, then I would be looking to be able to buy long term off of this move. We can see that we have this market break and tap above this overall trend line, and currently right now we're above it at this particular point. So I would be looking at buying if we can be able to get into this. Let's go to the 2 hour. Let's go to the daily first before I go to the 2 hour. We go into the daily. We can see that we have an evening star that was created, which meant that we should have seen bearish movement, but we have a counter trend line break that is bullish and it's above the actual overall trend line. Currently, the market is at 65%, so it's not necessarily in the greatest position to say if it should be bullish or bearish, but we do have a counter trend line break as a whole. If we decide to be able to get into this pair, we can look at this in two different positions. We can look at this from a daily field move and look at sub fields to be able to get in, or we can look at a 2 hour move and be able to trade it long term. Go back in there with your brother. And be able to trade it long term. Currently, right now, what I'm thinking is that I want to see what's going to end up happening. I would like to be able to get a low price on the 2 hour if we could. We do have a counter trend line break towards the upside, so that parameter is taken care of. Let's take a look at the 2 hour again. me go back to the daily real quick. So this is the daily field. The market ended up moving to the 5-0. 382. So the market is considered healthy if it keeps on pushing bullish. The market is in a no trade zone on the stochastic for the daily. So right now I'm out of the market and I'm not necessarily interested in being able to get into the market, at least for right now. I don't know if y'all can hear my sons in the background. My C is right there at the low, so we're gonna move our fibs over to this overall area, and let's see if we can find those low fibs. That will be right here. All right, that A was broken. We can delete those. Let's go and see right here. Okay, so this is what happened. Market ended up going all the way to the deep 86. Did not break the deep 86. So the stop loss will end up being at 11,878 or lower than that. Or your overall stop. So I'm going to place that just right here, just below it. That will be your stop. We have a counter trend line break. They end up breaking bullish after retesting. That is a perfect move for the overall move. For the upside, what I would want, and hope we may end up getting it, we may not. If I get into the trade, I would want this. And that would be my take profit. Everyone, just give me one quick second. Okay, sorry about that. So, as expected, I had milk everywhere. My sons end up having cereal, and my youngest is finally not sitting in a booster chair. So, after he gets done with his cereal, he throws the milk down. So, had to clean that out real quick. I do apologize. Everyone ended up staying on. Let's go ahead and finish out real quick. I'm looking for a low price. If I can be able to get a low price on the 2 hour, then after that, I'll look at being able to buy on the gold. On gold. I am interested in being able to get into that. I just wait for that overall price if that does happen. Okay. Now let's take a look at the Nasdaq 100. Nasdaq 100. Let's be very short and very quick with this one. I see that the market is in the sell zone. I'm trying to find a good area to be able to sell. But also trying to protect myself when it comes down to this overall trading pair. I understand that if we look at this from the daily already, we can see that this market, from a retracement standpoint, has already hit the 382. So basically, we are in the area of a R6 position, meaning that in this position, quite frankly, there really shouldn't be that many trades to the downside. And if you do get a trade, it has to be a perfect position to be able to get in, and understand that when you end up getting into that position, it has to be protect yourself first at all times, and then after that, go from there. Whatever you end up getting, that's fine. If you're trying to go after a certain number, that's fine. Me in particular, I try to go after $1,000 each and every trade. At this particular point, I've got myself to that point to where if I can get $1,000 minimum, then I'm okay with being able to lock in profit and go from there. So what ended up happening was that we see this based off of the daily. On the 2 hour, we end up getting a high price, and we're still at a high price when it comes down to this overall movement. We are pretty much at an area where we're seeing a lot of high volume for its overall movement. If this market breaks above 1932, then it's going to continue to move up to 12,000. If it keeps on moving up to 12,000, then after that, that will be an area where we'll be looking to be able to sell at this particular point long term. Currently, what happened was this market earlier this morning went to 11955. And then after that, broke to the downside very sharply. That's the one that I missed this morning. And then after that, we see that this market basically got into the sell zone, and on the 5 minute, it ended up breaking below 11,935 again, and went all the way down to basically 11,891 very quickly, but popped right back to the upside. So with that being said, the overall game plan for me is this. If I'm going to look to be able to sell this, I'm going to look to be able to sell this right around this 50-day moving average long term. Anything else below that is a short-term move. So that means that if I can be able to lock in profit of 20 to 30 points, then that means that I will lock it in, and then after that, I will let it play itself out, and then see how much I can be able to go from there, knowing that I'm trying to go after a minimum number of a overall win if that happens. If this market goes up here, and then after that we get that full extension of overall movement, we can see that what could happen is this market could be able to fall down to the 11,600 area very quickly before actually end up having any type of retracement if it gets back down to this overall area right here. But we're basically at two different pockets to where this could move. So we're really very much in an indecision area for us being able to make a decision on what's going to happen, because if it breaks above this line, then it's going to end up pushing bullish, and it's going to get up to this area. Well, that's not a strong enough area to be able to start looking at sales unless there's a proven counter trend line break. If it breaks below this area and it keeps on moving down, and it breaks below 11750, then after that you have a full break bearish to the overall downside. So we have to be able to keep this in mind. And I think the reason why this market is not moving as quickly as it is because retail sales are expected to be able to come out. So they're going to end up talking about earnings overall. And I think that's going to end up being a huge reason why this market may not move until about 8:30. So we have to keep that in mind. But if we're looking at this from a Carolina King, what's going on, Reggie? We look at what's going on from a 5-minute perspective. The first trade that I ended up getting into a little bit earlier today was based off of this counter trend line break. This counter trend line break right here. We got that counter trend line break. It broke to the downside. I placed my stop just above the overall swing high, and then after that, the market ended up dropping down to 11,891. As soon as that happened, I walked upstairs, and then after that, it turned around, popped right back up to the upside. Because you're trading based off of 5 minutes, sometimes you have to understand that you end up having a quick stop loss, and you put it in the break even. You have to be able to make sure that you understand that you're locking in profit. If you lock in profit, it's okay that the market comes back and hit your spot because you didn't lose any money. In this case, I made $46 in about, I want to say 6 minutes, right? Because of that overall movement. Could have been 200. We're not going to cry over spilled milk at this particular point in time. We just know that the reason why you locked in the profit was so if this market kept on moving to the downside, then you could have went after your overall number. Once again, remember my minimum number when it comes down to being able to get out. If it does hit right around $1,000 on the trade, then I take out. Then I'm okay with being able to get out of that position. But me leaving real quick for 5 minutes and seeing that the market pushed back up in 5 minutes it wasn't scary because I had a stop loss that protected myself from losing any money. So it was basically a free trade. So I walked upstairs very freely, understanding that if I lost, I wasn't going to lose anything. I was actually going to make money for just being able to click on for about 5 seconds, right? If I won, then I was going to win big because the market was going to keep on moving down. That's a win-win situation in my mind. All right, so that's where we are. Currently, what are we looking at right now? I see that this market is basically making it's just making a channel right now at this particular point. Currently, the market is reacting based off of a 5 minute point of control, but it's breaking to the upside. So it looks like that first option is probably going to end up being the move. It probably might end up pushing. If it gets past 11,940, we should see that the market will push up at least to the 12,000 area. If it starts pushing up towards the 12,000 area, then we have to be able to keep that in mind and say that, okay, well, the bulls have control. We need to go ahead and start getting our mindset for being able to buy a low price to be able to go up bullish. Currently, the market is at 11,937. What I would look at, let's go to the 2 hour real quick. The one thing that I don't like is the 2 hours in the sell zone. 2 hours in the buy zone, then it'll be a whole different situation. I'm probably not going to trade this the rest of the day. If this market keeps on pushing up bullish, because I'll wait for a low price on Sunday to be able to buy. If this market is ready to go for a continuous buying towards the upside, then there's way more movement to the upside than it is to the downside. It'd be up to 11,000. I mean, it'd be up to 16,000 if the market keeps on pushing to the upside. So I am interested in being able to see how this market is going to react off of 12,000, but it's going to move without me. I'm not going to end up making a trade. I'm not going to buy in the sell zone. That is a fundamental rule that we have here at Carter Cow Trading. You don't buy in the sell zone. You don't sell in the buy zone. Okay, so we'll take that out. We'll go from there. Let's take a look at two trades that I end up getting into a little bit earlier, and we'll get out of here. Which was the Australian dollar and the Australian yen. The Australian dollar has been in a position where it has been weak over the course of the last 5 days, and obviously we got out of the position a little bit earlier than expected. We wanted to get around 72. The market ended up hitting 72 and literally ended up breaking down to the downside, but that was right during a time where the US dollar was having a lot of weakness at this particular point, so we didn't take advantage of that overall position. But we also knew that if we can get a 2 hour high, then we could be able to find a price to be able to get in. Currently, right now, on the daily, the market is retracing up, or it retraced up to 72.50, has broken a trend line towards the downside. The market is expected to go down to 68, basically, for the overall movement. Currently, right now, the market's at 53%, so it is in a no trade zone for us being in a sell, area. So we're not looking at swing trading this market. We're looking at 2 hour moves that we can be able to get for us to the downside. So that brings me to what ended up happening last night. What happened last night was that at right around 9 o'clock, we end up having an opportunity to be able to trade to the downside. This market ended up having a counter trend line break right around the 236. Now, that's not a high enough area to be able to retrace, but it was a counter trend line break in the sell zone when I ended up finding this overall movement. So when that happens, sometimes you just got to lower your risk and you got to take an opportunity and a chance to see what's going to happen with this market. Now, if there's no momentum in the market, automatically it's an automatic get out area. You take the small loss or you take the small win, and then you just move on from there. What ended up happening from here was that we were in profit for about maybe 5 pips. And then after that, it started to move back to the upside. We just got news that the Eurozone and the Australian dollar are ready to create or finish up on a deal that they end up having. So that gave a slight little push to the upside for the Australian dollar. And currently right now, we can see since then, the market has moved about 25 pips to the upside. So when we took this loss with only 8 pips, right? Well, knowing that, that's fine. We end up taking a very small loss. Now, that 8 pips can equate to, for some people, for a lot of money. In my case, it was right around a $100 loss, right? But right around a $50 loss on one trade and a $50 loss on the Australian yen, because it's basically the same move. Well, in this case, my question to you would be, would you rather take a $100 loss compared to a $300 or $400 loss, knowing that you have no momentum to the downside? And I will always want to cut off short and take the short loss compared to just waiting and trying to be able to say, okay, well, let's hope that the market is going to move to the downside. Well, it's done. I done been in this trade since 9 o'clock this morning. It's 7 o'clock right now. If it hasn't moved yet, it's not going to move no time soon unless we end up getting some momentum. Once again, if there's no momentum, then there's no movement. And currently right now, we're looking at being able to trade this to the downside. And when we get a higher price, excuse me, if we get a higher price and the market is right around the 618, 786, or the 86 area, then absolutely I'll look at being able to trade it. Right now, that's not the time. So currently I'm out of the market. Took a loss on the Australian dollar and the Australian yen on this one. It was 8 pips between both of them. For me, it was about $100. And maybe for some of my clients, it might have been a $16 loss. But once again, a $16 loss compared to a $70 or $80 loss is way better than that. We just made half of that money back on the NASDAQ 100 just by being able to place in a trade for about 5 minutes. So we're good from there. That is my time for today. Didn't get to go through all of the overall pairs, but we got to go through most of them. And if you like what we end up doing, please make sure that you like the Carter Cow Capital business page. We are getting set up for our October monthly installment of the Believe in Yourself Bootcamp. I am very excited to be able to talk about this with you. We're going to end up having a lot of high impact stuff that's going to end up helping out everyone. Going to end up adding a lot more stuff on to what we end up doing compared to last month. When we'll talk about that in the next few posts and settings and everything else like that. But that's going to be from October 26th to October 30th. Please make sure that you end up reserving your tickets. This one is going to end up being probably the best session that I've ever put together with everything that we're going to end up talking about. We're going to talk about equity management. We're going to talk about how to be able to start up a broker, some of the strategies that you want to be able to get into. What is Forex in general? How can you be able to compound your overall trading? How can you be able to use other people's money? What is the NASDAQ market? How can you be able to profit off the NASDAQ market? Being able to make money and being able to make money and withdraw money on the same day using non-regulated brokers, right? All of that stuff. We're going to end up talking about all of that stuff and putting all this stuff together. Very excited to be able to talk about that. Take advantage and be able to reserve your seats. For the people that are watching on this video, please make sure that you end up sharing this post to somebody that you think that will end up benefiting from this, right? Obviously, I do these videos to be able to talk about what I like to do for my overall positions, and I have these videos for my clients and being able to get started each and every day so they can have a mindset and a way to be able to trade. But also, this is something that will end up helping out anyone when it comes down to understanding how to be able to invest in yourself. Stop allowing other people to invest in you, or stop allowing people to be able to spend your money in any type of way that they want to, or stop giving your money over to the bank and allowing them to be able to make money off of you, and use some of that funds that you end up bringing in each and every month to be able to create more funds. Create your own nest egg. Learn how to be able to do that. And then after that, your power is basically being taken back to you. And the one thing that will end up being taken back more than anything else is time. Time is the most precious thing that we actually end up having, right? If you could be able to take your time back by being able to have a skill, to be able to learn how to be able to trade, and be able to say, hey, I don't need someone else to tell me what time to be able to punch in on the clock, and I can be able to do this myself. There's nothing else that you can be able to do. Right? Done had a great week this week when it comes down to overall trading. Have made a lot of money, but understand this. Quite frankly, if I'm still a school teacher, right? I relish the day when I can be able to say that I don't necessarily have to do that, or I don't want to be able to do that, right? And most of my clients feel the same way when it comes down to their overall positions and doing everything else like that. Once you can be able to figure out how to be able to create the funds and not have to worry about somebody else telling you how to be able to do it and basically capping how much you can be able to make, then that's the most powerful. That's the most powerful feeling that you can have in the world. Like always, make sure that you end up believing in yourself. Change will always end up coming. And once again, plan your trade, trade your plan. Everyone, y'all have a good one.